Well, pitter patter, let's get at her. It's Joe, the bull guy, and welcome to the bullpen. As always, we got Nicole, we got Jimbo. We got a fun fucking show for you tonight. It's going to be a hell of a time. So, probably one of us will get out of existence. I'm just saying. Probably going to be me. I'm the fucking whole problem. But Jen is not here tonight. She is sick. Carl, who may make an appearance at some point to end the show. He's out on I don't know. I think a date. I think that's what he said. What's up, Joe BM? How you doing? Welcome in. So, with that being said, Nicole, how was your day? How
it was doing? Good. It was a busy day, but good day.
It's Friday. It's Friday. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, right? Jimbo, how you doing? I know you're smoking some shit.
Yeah,
not what you think.
Yeah, not what you think. Really quick, shout out to my oldest daughter. She had her cheer banquet tonight, and as a freshman, she got the team's Rising Star Award. So,
fuck yeah, let's go. Let's fucking do it.
I'm really happy about
That's
that.
Awesome.
And then I'm really happy tonight. I got 3 brisket on the smoker. I got 2 jalapeno meatloafs on the smoker, and a turkey.
Oh, there you go.
Right, because you have a event coming up, don't you?
On Sunday.
Nice.
I was going to make a, hey, Joey. Oh, I was like, who the heck is it? It's Joey.
Hi, Joey.
Sorry, buddy. I'm like, what? Joe BM. What? Like, I was like, man, I haven't even started yet. But you know what? Ceremonial. Let's crack this fucker open and let's start off Conspiracy Fridays, and we're going to talk about the Masons and shit. Definitely need lubricated for this conversation. Just kidding. It's actually a fun. Here's my thing with it. I absolutely love history. Right, I love history. It just gets my rocks off. And it only did that when I got old, right? Like, because I didn't do that when I was a kid. I was like, oh my god, we're going to fucking Mr. Fusetti's class. And if you hear it, bud, yeah, he said I would be nothing flipping hamburgers. Fuck off. I'm a lot more than that. But anyway, but I loved him. He was a great teacher. He was the only teacher I knew that threw a fucking chair across the room to make a point.
No way.
Just
he did not.
No, swear to God. Swear to Jesus. And Mr. Flynn, our other history teacher in high school, he would wait until people fall asleep and he would draw on their face and then slam a book on the desk to wake them up. Like, we talking like some old school ghetto shit. What's up?
Wow, the nerd.
Michaela, how you doing?
Hey,
can I have a swing? But yeah, like it's crazy, right? So Fusetti, oh god, man, but he was like the nicest guy outside of the classroom, like he really was. What's up, Aaron? Welcome in, guys. So
what's up, Ron?
When they were talking about this subject in high school, like in American civics, I was like, yo, I'm fucking glued to this. Let's fucking go, right? Like, you're talking about conspiracy shit. You're talking about the start of a fucking war, the nation, like the most powerful nation in the world at the time. Like, you are literally talking about our foundation. I'm like, I'm about this. Like, I don't want to hear about Ben Franklin signing the fucking Declaration or what. I don't give a shit. Like, I want to hear about some shady shit where we stabbed some shit and took some gold out of King Solomon's temple. Like, that sounds like some cool shit to me.
And how it all ended started Friday the 13th.
Right. And that's why, like, some people have the superstition about Friday the 13th, and other people. You know what, Jim? Why don't you give us the history of that Friday the 13th? Go ahead.
So, real quick, this is like the real quick version. The Templars were pretty much banished from the Catholic Church. At the time, the Catholic Church was extremely corrupt and broke, and the Templars had all the money. So the King of France was the cousin of the Pope, who France was broke. Rome was broke, so they said, we need to get this money from the Templars. They're now excommunicated. They're no longer, they're evil people, and they were ordered all to be slaughtered. And the largest slaughter of the Templars was the date was Friday the 13th, whatever. And from that point on, Friday the 13th has a bad,
Right.
evil.
So,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th because of the Templars.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know
Well,
that.
because of the slaughter.
Because of
Because
they
some
were
people died. Yeah, because of the slaughter.
ambushed and the majority. And then from that, all these small groups just took what they could and kept what they could and fled possibly to America, possibly all over the world with
Interesting. I didn't know.
Freemasons.
I thought it
A
came from
lot-
like
Freemason.
witches or
a
something.
lot of religious treasures.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know.
Freemason. Who said that?
Hey,
Anyway, I'm just saying, but that's where it all started, right? So, let's put it into perspective,
let's
right?
give Steven a shot for his birthday. Remember, it's his birthday.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's your birthday right now. Happy birthday, fucking Steven.
Happy
Jesus,
birthday,
I forgot.
Steven.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy fucking birthday, buddy. Happy birthday. Aaron, what did you say? The Titanic and the Thresher? Jesus. What's up, Gray? How you doing? We're talking about a good one tonight. Bartender, another round. Listen, I'm down, Steven. Let's fucking go. So, the Templar Knights, basically it started, and if you think about it, it started after the Franks and the First Crusade, right? They captured Jerusalem. You had Fatima, oh God, how the FATI MID, I think it is how you say it. I don't know. In 1099, right? And the Christians made a pilgrimage and then to the holy cities, and there were just fucking ridiculous shit, right? Like you had the highwaymen that preyed on them, you had the Christian pilgrims, like you had the Jaffa on the coastline. You had a lot of problems going across this shit. It's like we're walking in the fucking Bronx these days with like gold on your neck, right?
I've never been to the Bronx. I wouldn't know.
Well, don't go with gold jewelry because it might get taken. But I'm just saying. I mean, I lived there. So what ended up happening is that this society, kind of like another one we're going to talk about that started in Ireland, was for protection. And a lot of people take these like Templar Knights, these Iberian, the Freemasons, and they all go, oh, well, that's how the mob started because they started with protection too. So, it's all these secret societies. Look at the conspiracy theories. Look at like the Knights of Columbus, right? Like all these other groups, the Illuminati, the oh God, what the hell is that other one? Not the Rothschilds. That's just the bank that controls everything under the fucking sun. But what was it? Skull and Bone Society, right? Like all of these have some deep rooting into one of the three we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, there's an Order of the Golden Dawn. There's 10 of them.
What'd you say, Jim?
Opus Dei, which is a very small, still around, very small, very secret group of very strict Catholics.
Very strict Catholics. Very strict. And so is the Priory. The Priory is still around too.
Right.
You want to talk about some shady shit? I didn't say that. Listen, Pope, I am Catholic. Do not denounce me from the Catholic Church. I love Jesus. I love my God. Please don't do that to me. But you did some fucked up shit. Not you, but us as a whole. Anyway, so it's true. It's true. It's true. Look, I'll take my lunch.
Every group has a history.
Every group has a history. Every group has a history. But so like King Solomon's treasure was alluded to be taken by the Freemasons, which were the Knights Templar after that slaughter that we just talked about, right? So you had Friday the 13th where they slaughtered everybody. They grabbed the shit and they get on a boat and they say, fuck this place. We're going to New America, right? That was what they originally started. So all this Christopher Columbus, people are like, oh, well, what really was that? Well, it was a pilgrimage. They were trying to find a new place to start where they weren't going to get slaughtered. I mean, let's be realistic. But the Templars changed to the Masons, where Nicole actually, yeah, go ahead.
And real quick, Christopher Columbus, his map that he used was a map written by the Knights or the
he doesn't want to say it. He doesn't want to say it. We'll say it. I'll say it. I got you. The Freemasons and the Templars.
Yeah, because they were here already. So he followed maps from the Nordics, the Normans, the Freemasons, like the Knights that had already been to this continent.
I just like how you struggled with it, so I figured I would say it for you.
Well, I want to get it right to see what group. Like there were other groups.
Oh, there was a lot.
There was like each family had their own little group. The Masons were the most prominent that stayed the longest. That's still around today. that
Well,
King's
I know
Origin.
with I know with your background why it's it's kind of like hush hush, and we
Oh, no.
don't go into it. Okay, fair. Okay, well, we're good then. Never
I
mind.
just gotta look it up on phone once in a while. No,
He just has to make sure he's not about to get yeeted out of existence. Like, oh shit, no, I swear I'm not giving up away secrets. But Pope, the Pope had a lot to do with the Templar Knights and control of it, and kind of overseeing a lot of the shit that they did. And it's crazy because like I love movies, right? So if you go to like National Treasure, it paints a really pleasant picture of what the knights did and how they protected the treasure of Solomon because no one could have it because it was too much for any one person to have. So therefore they hid it in the New World, right? So then the lure of the Fountain of Youth came about and all these other things to throw people off what they were doing, right? Which was taking shit out of Europe to start a new country and hide the shit. And I mean, hell, look at Indiana Jones. You got the fucking Ark of the Covenant and the oh, for fuck's sake, the chalice. The
Correct.
yeah,
The
but what
Holy
was the
Grail.
name of it? The
The
Holy
Holy
Grail.
Grail.
I'm like sitting here. Yeah, see, this is why I'll get excommunicated, not because of what I'm talking about. Just saying. But okay, so Templars started. They did some horrible shit during the Crusades. If you don't know about the Crusades, ask some questions. We'll go through it. But I mean, it was a witch hunt, lack of a better term. It was anybody who opposed them were no longer there, and you either join or die.
I mean,
Which
you
is
think about it, right? You think about it, they started as poor was part of their name. Like they were
Mhm.
poor knights.
Yep.
Their statue is two men sharing one horse because they had no
Right.
money. They were just there to help the Christian pilgrimage. But like anything, when you start collecting a lot of money, there's corruption
Greedy
involved.
shit happens.
Yep.
And that's what happened. I mean, you had it was the poor fellow soldiers of Christ. Then you had the Temple of Solomon. You had the pauper commonlets Christi Templa Cinciali, whatever the fuck it is. It's in French, and I don't speak French. But then you had the Knights Templar. Then it just simplified to the Templars, and a lot of video games are based out of it. And the Temple Mount, where their headquarters had a like mystic, it was of ruins like the Temple of Solomon. So they have a lot of deep-seated rooted history back into that temple, which was believed to have the greatest treasure ever, right? Like that was like the Solomon just destroyed everybody, took all of their shit, housed it in one place, kind of like the Library of Alexandria, which has a root into the Templars and the Catholic Church, and how it mysteriously disappeared. And no one knows where any of these scrolls are that disprove everything that people were saying at the time, right? Cover up. So, but again, like everything, Jim, you said it the best. It was meant to be something of kindness, compassion. It was, we have the means to do it. Kind of like the mafia. They protected the Italians when they came to the United States. It was against the government. It was against the persecution, not prosecution, persecution, right? So if you think about it, there's a lot of this shit that interlays with it. But let's get into the next step, right? So the Templars come over. They're about to leave, Europe and over where Catholic is, here and huge, to the New World where it's unknown, quote unquote, right? Well, because that's a whole nother podcast in and of itself. But then they become the
would you
Masons.
say Templar was like more religious based than a lot of the other secret societies, since most of them were Catholic, or was like a
Not
base?
no,
Because
I don't think it was.
They were ostracized. They were no longer part
Oh,
of.
so they were separate from the church.
And
what happened is they were in the Crusades. Go ahead. Sorry, Jim.
So the Crusades, the one that broke the church and the people up.
Right, and that broke the church up. Because the church was very Rome.
Right, yeah, because the church used to be the most powerful, right?
Very, very corrupt.
Even over the king.
That was the big push, anti-Catholic push, to where you had very few places that were still, like Spain, France,
and
Ireland.
Huh.
Little pockets of Eastern Europe were, but that was kind of it. They were Christian. They were the Church of England and other,
Well, you used to be able to buy your way into heaven. No, they exist.
This is like
but
more of
they're
a
not like
died out society, but it was very important.
Is it though? That's the
Yeah.
problem. So, like with a lot of these things, a lot of them go to the wayside because they stop getting talked about. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that's the craziest part about it is that, oh, well, does the Knights exist? Well, kind of in different various forms, like the Masons, right? Because
Priory.
if you go back, right, and if you or like the Knights Priory and stuff like that, I mean, if you go back to it, these were people who swore their allegiance to the church because they thought what they were doing was right. Then they found out that it wasn't right, and this was all just over dumb shit. And they said, "No, we're done with this. We're out. Fuck you. I don't like the joint you rolled. I'm leaving," kind of thing.
Martin Luther had a big role in that, with the start of Lutherans and the Presbyterian movement.
Pagan.
And the pagans were around.
Or pagans before that time.
They were around.
I'm watching the Vikings right now, guys. I got that on my head. So is that before Templars?
Yeah, that was before. Pagans were around way back in the day when like Merlin and all that fun stuff, right? But the Crusades weren't too far off. Robin Hood, like a lot of these things that we read about have, like Robin Hood. Robin Hood was during the First Crusade, right? So if you think about it, if you really listen to the story, you really look at it after you know about the Knights Templar, not just as a kid's story of like Robin Hood, we steal from the rich and we give to the poor. Well, that's what the Templars were originally doing. But again, with money comes greed, and with greed becomes even more, fucked up things that happen down the way. And I'm not saying that the Templars were now greedy people. They separated from it. They said, this is the shit that's going on. You killed all of us because we found out the fucking truth. We're leaving.
Gotcha.
In a nutshell. I mean, that's oversimplified.
There was more than one crusade?
The Crusades lasted 500 years?
I don't know that much about
500 years, yeah. But they split it up. Like the first crusade was like the first advance. Like they were like broken up into like, I think it was 3, but it was over 500 years.
And it would go back and forth between a Christian controlled Jerusalem or a Muslim controlled Jerusalem. And they would fight for hundreds of years back and forth for Jerusalem.
Like what's going on now. Right. Exactly. And it's all over the Holy Land. But the Holy Land, why? Why did everybody want the Holy Land? So that's, obviously the Temple of Solomon was in the Holy Land, right? All this greatest treasure was in the Holy Land. All of the artifacts of religious importance were in the Holy Land, right? So like all of this shit that you look at, everybody fought for control, for power. This is what it boils down to. It's always about fucking power. But one of the things is like when Jim hit on about the Catholic Church was corrupt. I mean, let's talk about, and I forget what it was called. It was an indolence. Oh, we learned it in Catholic school, but it was it was called like the golden ticket. You could buy your way into heaven. You went into the church, you gave them a mass amount of money. No matter what the fuck you did, you bought your way into heaven.
Endowment.
It was done. What was it?
An endowment.
An endowment. Okay. Like you literally you basically
how do they know they were going to heaven though?
They got a piece of paper. They got a parchment that said they were protected. They could do anything they wanted. And I swear
it even existed?
Go Google it right now.
How much did you have to pay for an atonement or endowment? Or
it depended on how corrupt that priest was. Wow. I hate to say it that way. I mean, because I'm Catholic, and there is a lot of bad shit in anything, but there's always good things as well, right?
Right.
So I'm not going to say that the Catholic Church is corrupt and evil. I'm not going to denounce the Catholic Church, right? Because I love my faith. I love my religion. But to be fair,
I was raised up with Catholic. I mean, you can't do that, but I just.
But any religion can have bad shit to it,
right?
Just not to get too far off, but Muslim, okay? The Quran does not preach hurtful shit.
Right.
It doesn't. If you actually read it, it is actually about loving one another and whatnot. But
that's Sharia law. That's Sharia law.
Right.
It's supposed to be
right. Right. So I mean,
you're a history teacher. You're really informational when it comes to stuff.
Listen, Jim. If Jimbo was going to be any kind of teacher, I'd hope he'd be the dodgeball teacher with the socks up to his fucking calves, holding the dodgeball, going, "You want to see tough? Wham!" and just like pelt the kids.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
You can dodge a ball. in his wheelchair throwing shit, right? Oh my god, that would be great, Jim. Maybe we should do a skit of you as a gym teacher. That might
I
be
said,
fun.
kick me in the Jimmy. Remember Beavis and Bud?
I do. And you know they started a new fucking show now as
No.
adults. They're adults. I watched about 5 seconds, but I went absolutely the fuck not. But we kind of like spiral a little bit, but that's okay. Went into Beavis and Butthead, but to bring it back, you got Beavis, you got to talk about Butthead. So let's go ahead and we talked about the Templars a little bit. Now we got the Masons. Let's give a little bit of the Masons, because the Masons and the Iberians kind of around the same time. They were a little bit, but not so much. But the height of it was right.
So the parts of the Hibernians, or preset groups that preceded the Hibernians, started around 1300 in Ireland. At that time, it was the English ruled Ireland, and it was pretty much illegal because there was all the Church of England, very anti-Catholic. It was illegal to be Catholic. It got so bad to where during the famine, 1847, when if you converted to the Church of England or to be a Protestant, or in the northern where Presbyterianism was real heavy because of the Highland clearances, which that's a whole other thing with Scotland. If you converted and you were starving to death, they'd give you soup, and if you didn't, you died. Like that. That's how it was. Like that's how bad they wanted the Catholic religion in Ireland, and they would hunt down and hang Catholic priests because it was illegal for them to practice their religion. That's how the Ancient Order of Hibernians started.
I never even knew the Catholic religion was a band.
Oh yeah.
I always thought it was like more of like the pagan, like you know what I mean, like everyone, but nobody was like against the Catholic religion. But I don't know anything about history. I'm learning a lot.
Everybody was against the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church had its moments where it was not nice, but it was do as I say, not as I do.
Now take that turn into the United States in the early 1800s, middle 1800s. It was highly anti-Catholic in the United States.
It was.
So, but a lot of your immigrant workers from Ireland, from Germany, from Spain, France, Italy were Catholic. And you ever see Streets of New York? That's that's what they're talking about. The Hibernians started from the eastern part of Pennsylvania up to New York City for the same reason, to protect Catholics, the Catholic Church, the Catholic priests. A lot of your immigrant workers, low-paid workers, indentured servants were Catholic, and they started the Hibernians in the United States in 1836, which is now the largest. The United States is the largest group of Hibernians in the world. They are active in Canada, England, Wales, and Scotland. The American AOH is a separate organization from them. They're one group, but the American organization is today stronger and more people. And it's still a very active organization today. But it's now turned to a benevolent organization. Friendship, unity, Christian charity is the motto. The group I'm in, I'm a past president of Atlantic City Division, which we brought back after 60 years of being defunct. If you've ever seen Boardwalk Empire, when the Sons of Ireland meet, that was actually an AOH group. That was actually the AOH. And shortly around the 50s or 60s, they just went defunct. And we brought it back in 2012.
Jesus. Well, I'm glad you brought it back. But you know what, though? You guys, a lot of these societies that we're talking about, they had their history, but they do a lot of good now, too. I mean, even though that some of them don't get along with other ones, it's kind of like, the pagans and the Hells Angels. But at the end of the day, their morals are the same. They want to help people. Yeah.
look at all the phenomenal work the Shriners do for children, and that's a Freemason
Our
group.
personal
Yeah.
person. They had fixed my legs.
Right.
Yeah. How
Right.
amazing.
And that was a Freemason.
Yeah.
That's a Mason organization.
Yeah. My dad didn't have a lot of money in the Shriners. I mean, I couldn't walk when I was born, and I had to have cast my legs. So I was like 6 years old.
Oh.
But
And Shriners fixed my legs.
Could you imagine though they didn't start and they weren't what they became, right? Like could you
my
imagine
legs wouldn't be fixed right now. I'd be walking all messed up.
We would not see that Corky shake that everybody knows and loves on TikTok.
No, you guys would not see that Corey shake.
There you go. And now, funny enough, today, right now, the Knights of Columbus, which also is a Catholic organization, a fraternal order, came from the AOH. Both of those organizations, you cannot be a Mason and join. But the Masons have now started to accept Catholics in their organization, which for years that was a no-no. They wouldn't accept Catholics, but they do now. But it's still it's still, you can, if you are actually it used to be, even if you were and were no longer, you still couldn't become a Knight of Columbus or a Hibernian.
Well, and and it's funny because if you look at the history of the U.S. with all of this, right, they were very secular, right? Like, you stayed over here, they stayed over there.
Territorial.
I mean, but if you look at the foundation of the country, a lot of them were Freemasons, right? I think, Nicole, you were talking about earlier, like before we got on, about how many of the
13 of the 39 founding fathers were Masons. Like James Monroe, George Washington, James Revere, or Paul Revere, I mean, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all Masons.
They were all Masons. And also my dad was a Mason.
And it's funny because like one of my favorite scenes in American Treasure, right, is how they always show the Masons hide things in everything, right?
Yes.
Like the all-seeing eye, the pyramids, right? Like all the little secret shit that they put in. But here's the question, though: why? All goes back to treasure.
Well, they say the all-seeing eye is to represent good God's omniscience.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, though. Like a lot of this was like the oil lamp was to represent the Temple of Solomon and and wisdom and truth, right? Like there's all these like little hidden meanings in everything, and it's crazy because we go about our business and we hand this money and we have no idea what half the shit on the back of it even means. But I always get fascinated by this because you've got the like the International Order of Good Templars, right? You ever heard of these guys? They're a subsect of it. But they are like in the 19th century, they advocated for abstaining from alcohol. I could not be them. I would not abstain from alcohol and other drugs, by the way, other drugs. It was that they told us there. But then they became into the Templars' honor of temperance, which then later became, so like if you think about it, right at that pinnacle moment in the 19th century is when Freemasons ended up becoming, like the Templars became the Freemasons, because at that point it was almost dirty to be a Templar.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe that the actual Masons that they took the name from were around for thousands of years because they were actually Masons. The pyramid is their symbol of, there were Masons that built or designed and worked on the pyramids. And it was a high functioning, a high prestigious job to be a Mason. A very good friend of mine who's a bricklayer, union bricklayer, was like, back in the day, you had to be a Mason to get a union bricklaying job. And then the Masons that do the masonry work would show up in shirt and tie. They did Mason work in shirt and ties. He goes, they got paid like, he goes, but they were also Freemasons. He goes, you had to be in the union. And this is in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, it's crazy. My grandfather was a Mason, and my other grandfather was a Knights of Columbus. They you want to talk about fun family events? They did not like each other. They didn't like each other for other reasons, but but all of these things that like how they culminate, it's fascinating because it controls everything.
Yeah.
If you still look at it now, all of these groups have their hands in something. The Skull and Bones is another one that we could talk about at some point, and how
The
that
Knights of the
controls
Golden
99.
Circle.
There you go. I mean, like, you literally
The
have
Order of the Golden Dawn.
Order of Malta, Order of the Temple.
The
You have the
Bilderberg
York Rite.
Grap. I've never even heard
Right.
of that one.
Oh, Bilderberg.
But there's the Military
Can't pronounce
Constantine Order. Do you remember that one? That
The
was a fun one
Ordo
to go into.
Templi Ordens.
But that's the thing, right? So didn't matter what name they took, they were all part of the same lineage. Now the only ones that weren't were the Iberians. You guys were started because you wanted nothing to do with them and to protect.
They were created
Ireland.
to protect Catholics from these groups. The
Right.
just to real quick, the largest group that was anti-Catholic in Ireland was called the Orange Order. They're still around. They're Masons.
Yep.
So because of that, and because they're still around, that history is still fresh. And I believe that is why there's still such an anti-Mason,
Mentality.
rule with the AOH and the Knights of Columbus, because it's still active groups that have been fighting each other for hundreds and hundreds of years. They still do today. Like the Orange Order Parade, like they still clash in Northern Ireland all the time because they make sure they march right through the Catholic sections of Northern Ireland in Derry. It's like, that's why I think it's still, there's a big push. There's been big push in the last 30 years to go, when are we going to forget this? Like, when are we going to
Right.
move out of this?
Move on.
But you ready? One of the Knights of Columbus's mottos, one of their main mottos, Tempus, I'm going to mess this up. Tempus fugit, memento mori. That means time flies, remember death.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to forget. It's like you don't forget.
I mean, it's crazy. And then you were talking about the death. What about the Rosslyn Chapel in Edinburgh? Where the Mary, what was it? Was it Mary Magdalene was buried, and no one knew why Mary Magdalene was buried in the Rosslyn Chapel.
Right.
And there's all this allure of the Knights Templar, but they defended it, and that's where the Priory came into this, was to defend
that's
the
from the
lineage.
great book series. They made like the 3 movies out of them. There was a great book series.
The Da Vinci Codes.
The Da Vinci Codes that went through all that, which is really interesting stuff. It's like how much of it's true. You're like, oh shit. Interesting.
Well, the Rosslyn Chapel was built under William Sinclair and Baron Rosslyn, right, which were the first Grand Masters of the Templar Order. I mean, if you look through it, and you scour it, the shit that you uncover, it's kind of fucking frightening. I'm not even going to lie to you. And then you're like, holy shit. Now, it's suspected that the Knights Priory or the Priory, whatever, however you want to.
Priory of Sion.
Yeah, right. Like there's a lot of have the original spearhead, and it's not in the Vatican that pierced the side of Jesus Christ, right? So there's all of these, like, the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail was to be believed that it was in the Temple of Solomon and stolen. And the Catholic Church says that they have the Holy Grail. But who really has the fucking Holy Grail? Is it in Rosslyn Chapel? Is it over here in the United States where the Fountain of Youth was supposed to be, which was in Mexico and now New Mexico or whatever?
No,
right?
Fountain of Youth is in St. Augustine, Florida.
That's in St. Augustine, Florida. Mm-hmm. So, again, where is it? Where's the actual chalice? Now, in the movies, the chalice.
I love the angle that they took with the Da Vinci Code, saying it's not an actual chalice, that it's actually the womb and the child of Jesus. I think that's like such a cool angle,
It's some of the shit you find with this, like, just it's insane. It's insane. And really, the more you dive into it, the more you start to look at like companies that are
Exxon. The X's are the double crosses of the Templars.
Right. You
And
have all of the.
And what's the other? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's another gas company that uses the Pegasus, which was also
that was Mobile.
Yeah, that's also a symbol of the Templars was the Pegasus. There's so many of these oil companies that use Templar.
Well, look at the London Bank. It's got the two lions. Look at our justice system. Look with the blind lady of virtue, right? I mean, all of these things, the oil lamps, like we can go through, on our fucking money, it's crazy. Now, Nicole, you found some other interesting things about the Templars, didn't you? Or the Freemasons, excuse me. Yeah.
Just like I have like a little bit about their beliefs and their goals, but they were founded originally in 1717 when 4 London lodges merged into a Grand Lodge. So that's what happened. Like a lot of small lodges were started, and then there were these Grand Lodges where multiple lodges were, combined together. But there is reference of the Masons dating all the way back to like 1390. As well. And then they said it started in the Middle Ages in the Europes, and that they thought that they were the grand architects of the universe. Like they're the ones that were building the cathedral buildings and like these big structures. That's why their symbol has the builder's square with the compass, because they thought they were the best. And they also believed in just pretty much like doing good, but they believed also in the brotherhood. Like as a female, I couldn't join, but a male could. And you had to be like, they said 18, but some said 21 that you could join. But I think it went by like certain lodges. And that they didn't really believe, didn't have a religion, but they believed that there was a higher superior being out there. They also believed in immortality of the soul. So, and then, if you didn't believe in those things, you weren't going to heaven. It was like, and if you could believe in the common good and seeing past differences. So that was another thing. Like they believed it, like you could see the good in everyone and that you could look past, the differences. So they believed that they were trying to help, but obviously Hibernians didn't like them very much.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know that much. My dad was a Mason, and he was very secretive about everything. We did when he died. We had a Mason ceremony. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. My dad was buried with his Mason lap, his Bible, and all his Mason jewelry. And he was buried to the east, which is a very big Mason ceremony. And to me, it was really, but I'm still learning about all these secret society, and it's just crazy. But I tried to find so much deeper about the Masons, and it was just kept on saying a lot of the same stuff, like the immortality of the soul, believing that they were good and that they were the master architects of the world. But I thought it was pretty interesting that some of our founding fathers of the U.S. Were a part of it, which I thought was pretty interesting. And that today in the U.S. there's 1.4 million active Masons. But you do have to pay, you have to make, do you have to do monthly dues that you, okay. Yeah. So that's a normal thing and a charity thing. And then they also have a Mason or a rainbow program, which is for the children. But it used to be that you had to have you have to be recommended by a family member or a friend that is a Mason. So you have to be brought into it to be a rainbow. I always wanted to do it, but I didn't end up doing it, but I should have, because it would have been fun. But they teach the virtues of pretty much the same things that the Masons teach, and that there is 2 women Mason temples that women are a part of, that they do similar of the same beliefs as the men Masons, but there's 2 different ones. And I just found basic things like that. They believed in fostering friendships and cooperation among people of all nations. Stuff like that.
Nice.
I believed in big brotherhood. Brotherhood was big. Brotherhood's very big, and they were very secretive about a lot of things.
Yeah, just about all of our fraternal orders.
Right, and so it's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
So that's how they also said in yours too.
Well, and that's how fraternity started.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. We have, now that we have the LAOH, which is the ladies Ancient Order of Hibernians, which is they are their own separate. It's not an auxiliary. Like they're not like you have to be married to someone or be a relative or a daughter. Like they're their own separate organization now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when you think about how like a lot of this stuff, like because if you think about sororities and fraternities, where were they based off of? They were based off of these societies. They were based off of these. The Skull and Bones was literally based off of secret societies, right? You have the Illuminati. What is that based off of? It's based off of all of these societies. But all the negative that can come with some of these, there's a lot of positive that comes with it. But it does make you think.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck's really running and who's pulling the strings?
Yeah.
Right.
The early 2000s, one of the past presidents of Cape May Division, his son got accepted and he went to VMI. Very, Mason, Presbyterian, he got with the local priest for VMI, and he started the first AOH at VMI ever, and that was in the early 2000s, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, you never heard of the Hiberians. Guess I need to stick around. Well, Jimbo, why don't you give them a brief summary?
Real brief. The AOH in America started in 1836. It was created by Catholic men, Irish Catholic men, to protect Catholic families, Catholic priests in the United States, because there's very anti-Catholic sentiment going around everywhere. The Knights of Columbus started in 1882 by a Catholic priest because he felt it wasn't fair for other Catholic men that they couldn't join the AOH. So that's how the Knights of Columbus got started. So their degrees and rituals are identical. But now they've steered away, like all these groups, they've steered away of the, fighting in parades in the streets and stuff like that to be, great charitable organizations. And that's what we see now in all these groups, how they really turned the tables and now are really, really great, all of them, fraternal orders that are charitable.
And it's kind of funny, like if you look at everybody as an individual, move the secret societies out of there, it happens with people, right? Everybody has their past, and everybody tries to move in a more positive way in the future. So, but we cannot say, because we talked about MK Ultra last, on Monday and stuff like that. Like there are still dark pieces of all of these things.
Yes.
There is, what was it? The Masons are supposedly have a connection into Blackwater, and it's run, operations for the. I mean, like if you go through it, hell, they still make video games about this shit with the Templars and and the Masons, right? Like, what is it? Assassin's Creed. So, which has a lot of history in it too. A little bit skewed for the game, but still, some amazing shit. But then you have the Rothschilds. Like these are organizations that we're talking about tonight that had a horrible past and have moved into the future to try to better society. And then you have other ones, which this is probably why I better look over my shoulder, but the Rothschilds have been the family that controlled the entire world's fucking bank for how many years? They're said to have roots in the Templars, into the Masons, into the Hiberian, like they literally are in everything. So, when you talk about this deep state, you talk about like these governments that get overthrown. How much of it is actually, if you think about what was built by all of these groups, they know every layout of everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. Our infrastructure is literally based off the teachings of 90% of these secret societies. So how hard is it to bring it down? You know what I mean? But then again, like, look at Scientology. If we're going to talk about secretive shit, let's talk about Tom Cruise, right? Like, some people look at it and go, right. Jumps on the damn couch. But that's the thing. Like, any one of these things can be good in some facet, but there's always the dark side. But pull it back to the mental health stuff that we usually push on the podcast, on our TikTok pages. doesn't matter what group. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming in, Mark, and seeing us on while you were scrolling. That's fantastic. Um, we're also on Spotify and other streaming platforms that you can listen to us on. It's under the AGT network. There's the little shameless plug there for Carl. I know, fucking Carl, calm down. It would, Mark,
Carl.
just so you know, we have our producer who's a co-owner of the network. You can't see him, but we can see him, and he's just it's Carl.
We put a green bowl on his head for guys.
Look, yeah, right. Like we said, wear a funny hat. He puts a bowl on his head. It's Carl. But fucking Carl. So, like when I told him that we were going to be talking about secret societies, do you know what he actually said to me? He goes, "You like bondage? What the fuck? What? No, we're talking about like the Templars. Oh, I don't know what that is. What kind of kink is? I'm like, are you, Carl? You need some. It's with a C. It's with a C. It's Carl with a C. He's we love him. We love him. He's like the puppy that pisses in the house. You get mad, but then you remember it's a puppy and you don't get mad. But no, but in all,
no, we love you, Carl. She's so much fun.
We could just go back to the mental health based off of Carl. No, I'm kidding, Carl. I'm kidding. But it sounds about right, Carl with a C. I don't know. I think he after one of our episodes with the Fetish Friday that we did, he ended up buying one of those like robotic dolls you were talking about, Jimbo. I think he took it out to the movies tonight earlier because he said he was going out on a date. But that's a whole other topic for another day. But again, keep in mind that, you know, we just scratched the surface of this tonight. We can do other podcasts about this throughout, you know, on these topics and dive really fucking into it, because the history of this and how it played through thousands of years of revolution, right? Of war, of everything. You can still find Masons in fucking Jerusalem. You can still find the Templars over in fucking Germany. You can still find remnants of these things in modern day buildings that were built just 20, 30 years ago, that has this history that you just, and again, maybe I'm just a giant fucking nerd with a beard, but I find it fucking fascinating.
No, it is. I don't know anything, so this is really interesting to me.
So let's do this. I think this is a good place for us to wrap up, because we kind of gave a nice introduction. Why don't on Monday for our cast, right? Why don't we dive a little bit more into it? Okay. Why don't we see what groups sprouted from these three? Some of these secret societies in the U.S., some of the ancient orders over in Rome, like the Order of the Franciscan monks or the, you know, whatnot. And we dive back into this. Hell, we could even get into the one that's in England, and we just won't talk about it right now because that'll be our little surprise. So, with that being said, keep in mind, I said surprise.
Let's do the quote.
What? Go ahead.
Do we have any quote?
I don't have any. I bought some from thetirednurse.com, and we'll get them. What I'll do is I'm going to read out one of these badass affirmations from her that we've already read, but that's okay.
She has amazing. You can't not do an affirmation.
Yeah. So thetirednurse.com, badass affirmation of the day. You can't beg, hope, cry, or pray until you're blue in the fucking face, but you can't, or I'm sorry, you can. Words are hard. Okay. Hooked on Phonics fucking failed for me. Let's just say that. You can beg, hope, cry, pray until you're blue in the fucking face, but you can't make a motherfucker do the right thing or treat you the way you fucking want them to treat you. Accept people for who they fucking are, even when they suck.
Damn. I needed that. Thank you. That actually, that resonates with me. Thank you.
And think about it, it kind of plays into what the hell we were just talking about too. Some of these groups had some dumb shit that they did, but then they became really fucking amazing charitable organizations that, Nicole, you wouldn't be able to walk if it wasn't for the Shriners. The Masons helped my family out when there was problems. Jim is a Hiberian, and I know all the charitable stuff that you do. I mean, these are things, but there's always the flip to the coin, right? There's always that dark side. So stay in the light. Remember, you're fucking amazing. It's okay not to be okay, and tomorrow is a hell of a better day with you in it. And as always, I love your faces, guys. Everybody in here, thank you for watching. Everybody who's on the streaming platforms, thank you for listening today. Go click and subscribe to all the shit that we got going on the YouTube channel. Go
There's
over and check out the links. We do. We got
from
the
all
official
different
podcast
stuff,
merch.
from
Even
toys to
with Carl
positions
in it.
to current events.
And fucking Carl. And that chair auction is going to be happening here before next month. Okay. So by the end of this month, that chair that Nicole, which if you watch some of the Freaky Friday episodes, you'll see why we're auctioning it off.
Third Friday, watch it.
The third Friday. Yeah. Watch the third Friday. G said that was a great podcast, right? I'm just saying, Gray. I'm just saying. Anyway, we love your faces. We will see you back on Monday at 12:30. Maybe we'll do a couple of recorded podcasts. Oh my God, I got fucking hiccups at the last guy. Now I feel like fucking Carl. We have the Road to Recovery with Amber dropping on Wednesday. It's the final installment of that. And then we have some news that we're going to drop with that as well.
Yes,
some really cool shit. Other than that, we appreciate you guys for being here. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Carl, you were supposed to have ended this.
Damn it, Carl.
Carl, what the fuck are you doing?
Carl.
Can you please, Carl, put the doll down.
Carl.